Actually, let me just do the quick introduction. We already starting having a good time and some fun, so I even forgot that the meeting had actually not started yet. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. We're just discussing, we have our sister Lebo from South Africa who just connected. Today is actually our 5th BU Powerfully Talk, and we have the honor of having our sister Ola from New York. She's here actually in DC now. Yeah. A little transition in DC. Who's a young woman leader in the media, and she's going to share with us a bit about building a career in the media, looking at her own journey, a graduate from Syracuse University in communication, transitioning to the beautiful world of communications, and you started your career at NBCUniversal and then transitioned to Century 21, Fox, and now you're at Twitter working on events. But you built this amazing platform called Sisters in Media. So we're really looking forward to hearing your perspective on building a career in the media, but overcoming challenges and bringing new narratives and new voices. And I think particularly in the context in which we are, looking at the Black Lives Matter movement in the US and how communication is important into that aspect and narrative as well. So I'm going to leave you the floor, my sister, and mute myself, and we can start the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm so honored to be here. Once again, my name is Oladotun Idowu, and I am the founder of Sisters in Media. And I wanted to share with you my story and my journey into getting into my role at Twitter, but also really just starting the organization Sisters in Media. So join me on this journey, and I'm excited to get to know a little bit about you. And I'm excited for you guys to get to know a little bit about me. So let's get started. So about me, that's me. I was born in New York. I chose this photo for a really good reason. I started watching TV at a really young age. I remember being obsessed with film and TV, but not being very talented at all. I remember wanting to audition for Lion King because I wanted to act and sing, but I can't sing and I can't act. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a model because I was slim and tall, but I wasn't really a good model. I didn't really have the talent, but I knew I really loved the industry and I just didn't know where I was placed in. But very luckily, I had a high school counselor who told me that there are opportunities behind the camera if you wanted to be in the media or entertainment space. So that's why I decided to go to Syracuse University to pursue a career in the field. Syracuse University is actually a great school for communication. The Newhouse School of Public Communication is a very rigorous program. I mean, you've seen so many talented media professionals leave Newhouse and become very successful in their careers. So I did everything that I could to try to get into the school, and luckily sophomore year I was accepted. It's about diversity-wise, I think 6.9% of the students are Black, which is not quite a lot, but I think my experience at Syracuse is the beginning of me understanding and realizing diversity and inclusion and how important that is to me, and how important it is for media. I struggled because I feel like in every class, I was the only Black person, or maybe it was me and another person. So I think at Syracuse, I started to understand what the world will look like once I graduated. I created my own group of friendships, and I joined very Black organizations like the National Association of Black Journalists. I joined ASU, African Student Union, and then I joined an entertainment organization at Syracuse University called University Union, and that org brought in all of the celebrities. So if we were gonna have a concert at Syracuse, that org was in charge of it. If we was gonna have a movie night, that org is in charge of connecting with a studio to get in movies. So I joined that org, and I should have known because that org was all white. So it's just a peek of what my world will look like once graduating college. So yeah, although Syracuse University, although Newhouse actually, which is the communication school, was limiting on the diversity, we started a group called the Newhouse Mafia, which allowed the Black and Latinx students to come together and recruit students of color. So we did tours for high school students that would come and visit the campus, and we talked to them about our experience as Black and Latinx students. And we just wanted to make sure that they knew when they got here, they would have a community of people who look just like them. So that was my experience at Syracuse. And after graduating, I searched, I applied. Trust me, it's really hard to land your first job, but because I believe I was persistent, because I had the Syracuse University name on my resume, I was able to land a career at NBCUniversal. NBCUniversal is the heart of 30 Rock. The networks that they own range from USA Network to Bravo to Sci-Fi. And then they obviously have Universal Studios as their film conglomerate. I fortunately was working at USA Network. What do you notice in this photo? All white. I was one of very few of the Black marketing professionals on my team. Great team. That actually is one of the elite talent from the show Suits, which Meghan Markle was in, who is our queen, well, princess, well, not anymore, but yes. So I was working on the on-air, the brand marketing, and our digital marketing teams. And I struggled at NBC because I, once again, felt like I didn't have a community of women of color around me. And actually my experience at NBC is how I birthed Sisters in Media. And I'll tell you guys a quick story that happened while I was there. I was helping with the internship interviews and, you know, making sure that we bring along new candidates. And we already sent an offer out to a few young ladies. And these young ladies, not that they were women of color or not that they were people that I personally knew, didn't know them, just wanted to do my job in sending them their acceptance letter. The EVP came up to me and told me, did you guys hire for this role yet? And we told her, yeah, we hired, we sent the acceptance letters out and they're gonna be starting sometime in the summer. And I remember her just being like, oh, well, can you hire my nephew? And we told her, oh, we only have places for 2 people. And she said, well, figure it out if you have to resend the offer because I want you guys to hire my nephew for this internship position. And, you know, they did it. I'm just the assistant at that time. So I'm just doing what people tell me to do. And they did it. They brought in her relative and that person was able to work at NBCUniversal for an internship. And I just remembering at that moment, I understood nepotism was real. I understood that it's really about who you know to get into this industry. It's very much about relationship and networking. But how do you get into it if you don't have those relationships, if you don't have those networks? And then the people who already work here are all white. So how do people that look like me get into those spaces? How do people that look like many of these women that are on the call get into these spaces? My parents are from Nigeria. They are definitely not in this field. I don't know anyone in this field. If not for Syracuse, if not for Newhouse, I wouldn't have had any relationships. So what about the person that looks like me, that goes to school, that doesn't have a communication or media program, but wants to be in this industry? So that's when I started realizing I have to do more to be able to create a space where I can see more people that look like me. And I don't have to work at BET, even though I love BET. I don't have to work at OWN or any Black network to be able to see the people that I want to see. So I want to walk into NBC, I want to walk into a Sony, into Fox, into any big company and see other women of color, executives, people in the C-suite, and then also people who are just starting out. So that was just the beginning of me realizing I want to do more to see people like me. But although at NBC, I obviously was one of the very few Black folks, I found, like I always do, I found my tribe. And these became my girlfriends. And honestly, we stuck with each other until the end. And although one of us is still actually at NBC, we all are still friends. And the point of this photo is just to let you guys know it's really important to find your tribe wherever you go, whether it's in university or at your employer or whatever you're doing. Find your tribe, because they're going to be the folks that advocate for you. You're going to be the person that advocate for them, and that relationship building is super crucial. It's great to have friends, but it's also great to have advocates that are really encouraging your colleagues on your behalf for that promotion and for those opportunities. After NBC, I stayed there for about 2 years and moved on to Fox Searchlight Pictures, which has now been owned by Disney. So they're now called Searchlight Pictures. And I was really excited about this opportunity because I got my PR degree from Syracuse University, and I wanted to be able to finally use my degree for work. So I moved on, and I love film. So I was excited to move on to Searchlight Pictures, which is the sister company to 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox, for those who are not really big film folks, brings you the movies like the X-Men and all the big franchises. And then Searchlight Pictures brings you more indie niche films like 12 Years a Slave, The Birth of a Nation, Slumdog Millionaire. So they give you all the Oscar-worthy films. So it was a really great privilege to work at Searchlight because I was able to work with filmmakers that have gotten tons of Oscars and Golden Globes, and it was so awesome to be able to work so closely with them. And I was able to work with actually talent and actors who were also doing very well in their careers. What do you know? Searchlight. I'm the only Black person again. So this is just another awakening for me. These are the people in the field. How do I get more people to look like me so that we can be able to drive conversations, so that we can be able to shape the story and the campaign, especially when you're working on films like The Birth of a Nation, films like 12 Years a Slave. I wasn't able to work on 12 Years a Slave. That film came out in 2013 or 12. But if you have these films that are about Black stories and you have an all-white publicity team, how are they going to be able to share that story? I remember we had a documentary called Step. And Step is a film about young women, young high school women that are based in Baltimore. And they are on a STEP team, and they're just trying to navigate their space and make sure that they graduate, go to college, and just avoid that statistic of being Black women from underprivileged neighborhood that will get pregnant quickly and end up not graduating college. So it was a really great story. And as soon as we got that documentary, my boss called me and was just like, "Hey, Ola, do you want to work more on this film?" And of course I want to work on this film. I love seeing and working with Black girls and young women. But I wish that my boss had that much energy and passion to include me for every one of these films. I know a lot about Black women because yes, I am one, but I love to be involved with this story, Gifted. I love to be involved with sci-fi films because I'm a huge sci-fi fan. So Shape of Water used me. So I felt a little bit neglected when it came to other stories that did not talk about our stories. I think that's where my struggle was at this job. But nevertheless, I loved working at Searchlight. This is a photo of me at the Oscars. I had a fabulous experience. I mean, I worked closely with filmmakers. I'm in the car with Guillermo del Toro. I had an experience with, Chris Evans. It was just awesome because the studio is actually very, very small. So it's all hands on deck, and working with those talent was actually a really cool experience for me. But I wished that we had more Black stories and they utilized us for the campaign so that we can be able to tell our own stories. So yeah, those are my first 2 jobs out of college, and it was great. It was a learning experience. And during the time I was at NBC, I told you guys that the idea of Sisters in Media came upon me. But when I was at Fox, that's when I really started building out the organization. And Sisters in Media was born. It was born in May 2016. This is a photo of the very, very, very first event that we did. And it was literally just a brunch. And I didn't know what to do. I just knew I wanted to start something. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to just call some friends and tell them to invite some of their friends that are all in the industry. And we're just going to have a talk. And we're just going to sit down and talk about our experience in the field. Half of these girls are like my actual friends. There are probably like 5 people in this photo that I'm not very close with. But some of these girls, you know, are my friends from NBC, and then friends from Essence and The View. These are college friends. My sister is in the center of this photo, and she actually is the creative lead of Sisters in Media and helps tremendously with our creativity and that vision when it comes to that. But I didn't know what else to do. I just was like, let's just have a brunch. Let's eat. Let's talk about it. This right here, this person is Sunny Houston. She's actually a host on The View. And she was able to come through my friend, Candace, that works at The View, worked at The View at the time. So that just shows you, once again, relationship network. That's how you build yourself in this industry. So Sisters in Media was born, and it was a very small, you know, brunch, and it was probably like 15 of us, but then it grew, and then it grew some more, and then it really blossomed. I mean, it grew. This was like the second event that we did, and it was actually very small. We worked and partnered with Complex and a media blogger, Kayla, and it was great, but it wasn't grand. And then we did an event with Twitter before I got my job at Twitter. And that went well. It was about 60 young ladies. Then we did something with NBCUniversal. And then our biggest event yet was Make the First Move in partnership with Facebook and Bumble. And we had about 400 girls in that space. We worked with Syracuse University, and that's how I really started off, because I worked with who I know. I know Syracuse University. I know I was a great student while I was there. So how about I work with the Dean of Newhouse, who is Dean Branham. She's a Black woman. God rest her soul. She passed away last year, but she believed in me. And she was just like, I know what kind of student you were at Syracuse, so I believe I can put money behind your Sisters in Media event because I know the kind of work ethic you have. And she took a chance, and I filled this room with 70 people, and that's my dad right there, by the way. Then we worked with A&E Networks, and we did this huge event with them, had about 200 people there. It was about recruiting and having a seat at the table. We worked with Refinery 29. We did this event with them that I'll share more about. And then we worked with AOL Build, a series that I actually worked with during the time I was at Searchlight. So that meant a lot to me. So the Refinery 29 event, which hopefully I can share with you guys, I just want to share a teaser because this teaser was published by Refinery 29 Unbothered, which is the Black sister company to Refinery 29. And we did this event called Pop Culture is Black Culture, and it was a discussion on social media. My job as the founder of Sisters in Media was to find partners. So I found R29 to create the vision of this event. So I came up with the Black Pop Culture is Black Culture and what the discussion topic would be about, who are speakers. I'm the one who got the speakers, and our creative lead, my sister, would handle all of the creativity behind it. The poster, the video and whatnot, not the video, the social media and Instagram and Twitter looks. And then, yeah, we would partner with the company to use their space and then also use their resources to build this event. So let me just share with you the teaser. Hopefully you guys can hear. Welcome to R29 Unbothered and Sisters in Media, Pop Culture is Black Culture, a discussion about social media.
Pop culture is Black culture. I want to dig into that and really ask each of you what that statement means to you.
I think it is simply saying that we are the arbiter of style and culture.
I take that phrase for exactly what it means at face value. Black community really pioneers a lot of what we see is popular, whether it be fashion, style, film, and music.
The culture is finally catching up with who we've been all along.
What does it mean to be a Black content creator?
My mission in every space that I enter is to make it very Black.
I don't want to be the voice of all Black women. I don't want to be the voice of, all of women of color.
I feel like if we were to box ourselves all as one, then we'd be doing what other races usually do to us.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I just wanted to share that. That was one of our first large events in partnership with R29, and it was so Black. It was great. And really my goal is to make sure that I'm creating these spaces and I avoid, having that feeling again, just being the only person of color, being the only Black woman in a space. So yeah, that's why I do things like this. And then after that, this happened. I was able to partner with AOL Build. And AOL Build, quick backstory, it's a fun series in New York City that brings in talent and brings in influencers to talk about their film. They use it as a source to promote anything that they're working on. My very last job at Fox Searchlight Pictures was working on this very small film that I'm sure nobody here knows of, called Super Troopers. And I was able to take our talent here to promote the film. And that was the very last thing that I did at Searchlight. And I always loved the Build series. So then when I got this call from Verizon Media to work on this, it just changed my world. I was super happy. This is the entire conversation. I will not show you the entire conversation, but I will just show you the first clip that always makes me happy.
Hey y'all, and thanks for joining us today for Redefining the Standard, a conversation about Black beauty in corporate America. I'm HuffPost Black Voices editor Taryn Finley, and we're here at Build Studios in partnership with Sisters in Media and My Black is Beautiful for a discussion about the role of Black women's beauty in the workspace.
That's how I can't show you the whole thing, but I just want you guys to see that the conversations that Sisters in Media brings are conversations about our Black experience in the workforce and our experience as women of color who have to navigate these very white spaces and have to be the only person and try to let people know that Black people are not monolithic. We're not all the same. No, you can't touch my hair. This is a professional setting. No, you can't tell me about my own culture because it's my experience, not yours. So I love having these very deep conversations and using these big media companies to show those conversations. That's one of the biggest things that I take pride in. And I love that we were able to do it at the very space that I had my last Searchlight experience with an all-white cast, with an all-white publicity team, talking about a very white film. And then the next time I walk in there, it gets real Black. And it's in partnership with this idea that I had because of the feeling that I felt the beginning of my career. So this was very monumental for me. So some of you may want to know, how do you start? How do you really take that idea and make it become something greater than what it is? And really, it's about shooting your shot. And in this segment, I just want to share a story about how we got one of our opportunities. So I love this group called June's Diary, and they are a group that was discovered on BET by Kelly Rowland, who we know from Destiny's Child. And they do a lot of small performances throughout the world. We love them, but they are not as big as we want them to be yet. But anyway, the group came to New York and they tweeted, New York City next week, who wants to link up? And my sister, the creative lead of Sisters in Media, tweeted, hey, we're an organization and we're here to increase the presence of women of color in entertainment. We do panels. can you guys do something with us? And she tagged me, she hashtagged Sisters for Sisters. Surprisingly, these women responded back. And it was all very last minute, but we were able to put something together. And we were so lucky. Like, they tweeted us, they told us, this is happening. We're going to talk about being sisters in the music space because these women are a musician. And we found a local Black-owned cafe called Lips Cafe. We put it all together last minute and it happened. And I just wanted to let you guys know who are tuning in, you can make things happen just by just trying. You know what? I shoot my shot all the time. I should honestly be embarrassed by the time, the amount of times that I've shoot my shot. Like I've slid into DMs of celebrities, of influencers, and I've gotten ignored 80% of the time, and 20% of the time people respond. And I think it's all about that 20%. Just making sure that you're persistent and you keep going for it, because eventually your no will be a yes. So I just want to share with you guys some of the folks that we've worked with in the past. We worked with the A&E Networks to do an inclusion event, which is this photo here on the top. We had about 230 women involved or attend, and all of the panelists are from really big media companies. We have A&E represented, HBO, AMC, Viacom, and Spotify. So when we do events like this, it always ends up being packed because these are companies that a lot of people will love to work at. We did one, like, as you guys saw, we worked with Refinery 29, Twitter, and we worked with Twitter before I actually got my job at Twitter, Snapchat. We did a tech event for women with Snapchat, Facebook, Bumble Biz, Complex, Verizon Media, Syracuse University, NBCUniversal, The Wing, which is an all women's organization. It's kind of like, it's a space where women can just come get work done, relax, and just be themselves, and it's only for women. Not represented on here, we worked with the NBA last fall with Women of Sports. Yeah, and we were actually planning on working with a lot more organizations and media companies this year, but unfortunately COVID prevented us. So just a little bit about our demographic and our audience. We have majority of our audience is 25 to 34, and obviously 80% of us are Black. We would love to kind of diversify our ethnicity group and even our age group. We do want to see more Latinx and more other women of color, Asian, represented here. So our goal next year and this year too is to try to speak more to their experiences. 63% of our members have bachelor's degree, and 43, or I would say 44% of our women are in an intermediate level. We want this to change too. I would love to see more executives on here, people represented in the C-suite, so that the experience that I had, you know, when I was in NBC and when I was at Fox, I want to be able to have mentor-mentee relationships with people who can actually make a lot of change when it comes to your career, and it's those folks in the C-suite. So we want to make sure that that expands as well. So after Sisters in Media continued to grow, continued to advance in our relationship and in our network, I was able to have an opportunity to work at Twitter. And at Twitter, I became a Blackbirds lead. Blackbirds is the employee resource group for our Black employees and allies at Twitter. And it has been an amazing experience. And I work on the events team at Twitter, and it's been a little bit over a year. I love Twitter. I can't advocate for Twitter any more than I already have. If you see my tweets, it's all about praising, you know, my experience there and my relationships there. It's diverse. It has a long way to go, but they recognize that there's a long way to go. So going back to Blackbirds, as a lead, we are clearly concerned about the state of our country, and we're working on a lot of ways to make it a better experience for our Black employees. We're working on a lot of ways to show that we understand that hashtag Black Lives Matter, and we've been getting a lot of support from our company. So it's been good, but we want to do a lot more. So that's my story. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'd love to get questions if you guys have. If you want to know a little bit about any of my experiences or a little bit more about Sisters in Media and how I started and, you know, just steps to take to make sure that you are really on the right track, I'm open and willing to hear your stories and your questions. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Ola, my sister. That was so powerful. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure our sisters and brothers, actually, we also have young men connected on the chat, are also inspired by your talk. We've received a lot of messages, maybe on Twitter, on WhatsApp, from the powerful story that you've shared. You know, the importance of telling your story. Our stories are, as you know, not only people of color, but Black people in spaces that are dominantly non-Black, predominantly white. And I think your experience and the work that you've led around Sisters in Media, but also personally, you know, recognizing the barriers that you've had to not only overcome, but break around you, really makes your whole experience inspiring for all of us. So perhaps now we can open the floor. We have some questions from the chat box. Let's see, perhaps if you wish to ask a question, you can come ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question to Ola. I'm sure Ola will be delighted to answer.
Yes, let's hear the questions.
Nas, come in.
Yeah, it's Nas. Hey, Ola. Thank you so much for what you've just done. What a powerful presentation. And I don't really have any question per se, but I just want to say that everything that you have said really resonated very deeply to me, because I am a climate activist and I run a nonprofit organization. And one of the things that we're actually trying to address lately is climate media in Africa, because I think, like every other media, our own African media is largely influenced by, you know, Western sentiments and what they want us to put out there. And in doing so, lots of young climate activists or people that work in the environmental sector are largely sidelined or ignored, whether it's in Africa or otherwise. We don't really have any any phase in climate governance or climate leadership. And for me, that's a problem. And I've heard lots of young people in many platform voice that say that their voices are not being heard. But one thing that I have never really seen is people come together to say that we need to address this issue. Because I think one thing that we fail to see is how powerful we are, whether as young people without lots of resources or as Africans with a lot of resources. Sometimes we don't really see that we are enough within ourselves. And I think that really just drove me, because we cannot be waiting for Western media to amplify our work or to say that these are people that are doing as much as their people are doing. It's never going to happen. And so that was why we started a project called SearchLight Media, and it was to address, you know, this issue of young people not being heard, young people's work not being heard, and to kind of diversify it and bring in inclusivity so that everybody can be able to contribute to that platform and gain something from it just by interacting or by going there to see the opportunities that we have. So I don't have any question, but to say that what you're doing is very, very valid, and we definitely need more and more of that.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to add, like, just hearing your story and hearing what your organization does, what I find to be helpful with Sisters in Media is because we're very small and not many people know our name, what we like to do is take advantage of our partnerships and use that big name to help amplify our name. So just based on your conversation, no, you don't need to rely on Western media, but media companies like OK Africa and OK Player, like, they'll be helpful because they're well known here by really African American, Nigerian Americans, first generation folks that are here will learn more about what your cause is just based on doing an event with OK Africa. So I think that's, maybe we can connect offline, but that can be an idea for when we are out of COVID and we can start doing in-person events. Just partnering with something that is big, has a big platform in this country, but is still very heavy on Africa messages.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to connect, but just to be clear, I think I do believe that it's good to have that networking and to have that those relationship with media, even if it's Western media, because you need to have that powerful collaboration in order for your work to get out there. But what I'm saying is we need to first invest in ourselves and structure the media that we want so that it portrays us the way that we want it. Then we can be able to engage with this powerful media so that they can fight, because currently they have the platform and they have it covered. So yes, we do need them, but let's first build it and structure it in the way that we want the world to see us. Then we can align ourselves to them.
I can't agree with you more.
Thank you so much, Nas. That was a very good point. We have Jackie.
Can I have the floor, please?
Just a second, Redwan. If Jackie has just sent a question on the chat box. Jackie, come in, and then Redwan, if you wish to come just after. Thank you.
Okay.
Jackie? Okay, I think Jackie's microphone has issues, but perhaps Redwan, would you like to come in, and then we can come in with Jackie's question.
Hi, good afternoon, Hola. Good afternoon, everyone.
How are you?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you? The only thing you have said here that I want every Black person to take back home here is the single woman that you have to keep trying hard. When you slide into people's DM, 80% of the persons didn't give you a response, and the 20% you still kept to be dogged about it. And that 20% transformed a lot of things. This is your uncle from Nigeria. And if you, the thing that gets the world going on is perseverance.
Yeah.
Even here in Nigeria, as a legal practitioner, you do things that is not common for people to do. And that is what makes the difference about you. The world can only get better because the Black person can sit down on his feet and think. So for the sisters in media, it has turned the world around. It is something that you started there in New York City, but I can tell you in different parts of the world, when I talk to friends in New Zealand, in Australia, they ask you, Mr. Ali, this thing is, we're really feeling the vibes, and you tell yourself, it can only go worldwide. Yeah. When you now have to begin to think of spreading the tentacle of sisters in media. You're doing a real good job, and I'm super, super, super proud of you. Keep it up, darling.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, especially the part about just sliding into, just, you know, reaching out to people who you don't know. I did that before starting Sisters in Media because I would I really wanted a job. And what I would do is I would like LinkedIn people and just say, hey, I graduated Newhouse. I know I don't know you, but we have Newhouse in common. Or, you know, I know you don't know me, but we both know this person. Is it possible that I can have a one-on-one chat with you? So I like to look for common interests because that's what, as humans, we are drawn to. And if we have anything in common, I try to use that and leverage that to making you want to know more about me and what I'm trying to pitch and what I'm trying to offer. So thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much. Thank you. Perhaps if I can share Jackie's questions. She had an issue with the microphone.
Okay.
So she typed it. The question is, do you have plans to expand Sisters in Media, you know, in other parts of the world, looking at how the Black experience, you know, can also be reflected in different parts of the world?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Do you have any plans of expanding Sisters in Media to other parts of the world?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I love that question. My father tells me every single day how I can go and expand Sisters in Media to Africa, particularly Nigeria. And this is something that I absolutely want to do. I want Sisters in Media to be global and to reach parts of the world where even I haven't been, but where I see that there is a lack of even dark-skinned women represented in their media, because even in India, you see that colorism is so real, and you never really get to see a darker shade Indian woman as a lead role. And I want us to be able to reach places like that. I want us to be able to reach places in, you know, Nigeria. Nollywood is growing, Bollywood is growing, and even beyond that to Europe, because I talk to friends in London and they feel like there's not much representation there as well. So I definitely want us to expand. I struggle with even expanding outside of New York because it's only one of me. I think step one for me is expanding my team, and making sure that we have team members in other parts of the US, because New York is a big industry for media. So I'm lucky to live here and to be able to work here. But I need folks in LA because that's an even bigger industry, and I need folks in Lagos, Nigeria. I need to, you know, build a team in London and go beyond that. So I think step one for me is building a team, but absolutely, that is my dream. I want to wake up in the morning and know that there's representation of our members and our values in all over parts of the world. So absolutely.
I want to say amen to that. You put the dream into the world, and today we're praying the dream comes true. We have the next question is from Gladys from Paris. Gladys, do you want to come in? If your microphone works.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Hi from Paris.
Hi, yes, greeting from Paris. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm really inspired by your journey. I mean, such a powerful one. Thank you. I wanted to address the fact that you mentioned that sometimes you were the only Black woman in your team, and this is something I really relate to. And my question was about how can you avoid being tokenized in a predominantly white environment, because this is something that happens a lot, and I see that on Twitter. What happened has kind of brought to the attention how Black journalists or even Black employees in several companies were facing this type of situation.
That's a great question. And I love that you asked that, because I think that brings me back to my experience at Searchlight, because I felt like they were tokenizing me. I felt like if I had an idea and it had nothing to do with the all Black film, then they didn't want to hear it. Whereas I'm really proud to be Black. I love being a woman of color. I love talking about my Blackness, but I really love film. And I watch all types of film. I love Marvel. I love the, Lord of the Rings franchise. I love sci-fi. I love all types of films. And I felt very like they were doing me a disservice by just telling me that only your Black opinion matters, because we're not Black, so we can't tell you how this campaign should be shaped. So yes, you win that. But we're film experts and you're not. But why am I not? So I totally understand your question.
Okay. Sorry, dear, you can go ahead and unmute it. Sorry, participant speakers. Let's make sure that our sister Ola has the possibility to answer.
Yeah, no problem. So I think I try to avoid being tokenized by letting them know my voice. I think the more silent you are, the more detriment you put on yourself. So the best thing you can do is be vocal. I remember we had this film called Old Man and the Gun come out. It's a film with Robert Redford. I think I told you the story, Verlaine. But it's a film with Robert Redford, and it's a very white cast. I think we had Casey Affleck in it, who's Ben Affleck's brother. And I saw the film, and I was really excited about it. And I wanted to share my thoughts on ways we can expand the campaign and reach different audiences, because there was a time that, I don't know if you guys know, I'm pretty sure everybody here may know, April Rain, this activist, started the hashtag Oscars So White. And it was, the Academy Awards had absolutely no Black nominees. No Black movie. The only Black movie that year was Straight Outta Compton. Straight Outta Compton also did not get a nomination. It got a screenplay nomination, but not Best Picture. So everyone was really frustrated, like, what? Like, there were so many great films. Why are we not getting any attention? And Chris Rock was the host that year and did a very funny skit about, you know, Black people seeing Black film, only seeing Black films. But what frustrates me is that people don't understand that Black people go to the movies. Actually, Black people is a huge part of the rise in movie going. Like, a lot of Black people, people of color, love movies. And you'd be surprised how much we contribute to just the film industry, period. That upsets me that people don't understand that. And that upsets me when people are surprised that I know a name like, you know, Guillermo del Toro. Like, we know these names. We're familiar because we love art. So I get so frustrated with that. And I feel like it's so important for us to let people know other things that we offer. And if we're not heard, then we go somewhere else where we are heard. And that's why, I mean, my career at Searchlight did not last that long, because I wanted to share my voice with other voices.
Thank you so much, my sister. I think it's so important what you just said, you know, and also looking at the distraction. You know, I think looking at all the environment, the way that the world is going now, there's this quote from Toni Morrison when she says that racism and everything that comes with racism is a form of distraction. It's a distraction from, you know, allowing you to achieve what you're supposed to achieve. It's a distraction because you have to prove, as you just mentioned, we love art. You have to prove that you love art, that you're an artist, that you have the possibilities and capabilities to not only talk about Black films, but non-Black films as well. So I think this is this is such an important point. Perhaps we have Ida, our sister Ida, has a question as well, if you want to come in, Ida. Okay, that perhaps we'll wait just afterwards. Setu, do you want to come in, Setu? I see Setu is asking.
If when people can come in, tell us what country you're calling from, that would be great. I'm so excido to hear about where it is.
We have a strong Nigeria base. We have uncle who's here. We have our sisters. Setu, do you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here and spend my Saturday morning with you guys. I am calling from Boston, Massachusetts. Not too far from you guys.
I love it. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So my question is really around Black beauty. I wonder if you can share a little bit more about your experience. How do you really maintain your authentic self in these, you know, white spaces? How do you really embrace your Black beauty, right? Because we know for us, it comes in many shapes and form, you know, the way we, you know, do our hair, the clothes we wear, the earrings we wear, you know, then how are you really able to maintain all of that in a, you know, space that does not necessarily, you know, even appreciate that has beauty?
I love that question. I love that question because I'm half and half. Sometimes I struggle with it. I'm still human. And I still want to make sure that I go to a space and I come off corporate and I'm professional, whatever that means. So sometimes I struggle with it. Like, I've never had my natural hair at work before, but everybody's seen it now because we're all working from home. And listen, this is what it looks like. So, and it's not that I'm ashamed of it. I struggle with my own natural hair because I'm super lazy. That's really beside the point. But I love that question because I dealt with it. I feel like all of us have. I've had braids in the office, and I've had white women come up, white colleagues come up and touch my hair without my permission. I've had people comment on my wigs and my weaves, and it's just inappropriate because I don't comment on your hair, so don't comment on mine. So I've experienced it. I'm sure all of us as Black women has experienced it, but I think it's important for you to draw the line when it first happens. Hey, don't touch my hair. Thank you. I wouldn't touch your hair. Don't touch mine. Or, you know, I like that you like the shorter wig better than the longer wig, but I don't really need your comment on that. Thank you. You're not my boyfriend. You're not my man. Like, I don't need your comment. So I think it's important to draw the line. There was one time where I got really bold and I wore a reparations shirt to the office, the Fox office. And Fox Searchlight is owned by Fox. So it's Fox News, it's 20th Century Fox, it's all Fox. And obviously we know Fox News is very conservative, very Republican, very red. And it was around the time that Trump was elected. And I wore a reparations shirt and I got a lot of stares. And I was just like, it's whatever. I want to show my Blackness. I have the right to wear this shirt. I have the right to wear my hair the wherever I want. And if you don't like it, that's your problem. Just don't stare at me. So I think Black Beauty is a really good conversation. That's why the AOL Build series event was about redefining Black beauty and the standards of Black beauty in the workspace. And people were sharing their stories about, listen, I wear weaves, I wear sew-ins, I wear my natural hair, I wear extensions. And people make comments all the time. And so we want to create a space where people don't feel the need to comment on our hair because we don't comment on their hair. So that was really the conversation, and it was a really, really good talk. I think it's important to speak up. If I don't feel comfortable with you saying this or doing this or touching me, then I need to say that and vocalize that, and you need to not do it again. You do it again, HR is going to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Setu. Thank you, Ola. Thank you so much. I think this was a beautiful and powerful last question. Unfortunately, we're getting to the last part of the talk. You know, when we start the talks, it's always smooth, and then it becomes difficult to let go.
Yeah.
You need to hold you here until we continue. But perhaps when we can move forward. Hello.
Hey, can I come in?
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Umi. I live here in New York. I also work at 30 Rock. I don't know whether what I have to say is a question or is a concern. This is a very brilliant organization, Sisters in Media. But when I look at the media, when I watch Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, I see most of our young ladies just like me and younger ones. Most times we use our platforms or we use what we share is like makeups, what we eat. I know is good, but for me, sometimes I feel like it's okay for you to show me that, okay, today this is your new makeup style or this is your hairstyle, but I wanted you to share something that is more important. How you graduated, what were your shortcomings? How did you manage to overcome your problems until where you are? Or young people should be advised that, you know, education is very, very important, and education makes you beautiful because when you are educated, you are empowered, you have self-esteem. But sometimes when I look at these videos, what I see is that I don't want to use the word insecurity, but I'm like, I want to know more about you, but I am not seeing it. So as Sisters in Media, when you have your programs, do you advise young people that, you know, focus on your education? Beauty is always there. I mean, you are always beautiful with or without makeup, with your afro or without your afro. But what makes you stand out the most is your education. Do you encounter those questions or do you observe that too? Thank you.
That's a great question because we actually, so the amount of people, the age group, like I said, is like 25 to 34. So mostly people in their 20s come to our event. And we haven't had a conversation about, you know, the portrayal of us on social media yet. And even our role, the roles we take part. But I think that's a really, really good point. And I think with Sisters in Media, what we want to do and what we were planning on doing this year was doing a little bit more webinars and trainings as opposed to just panels, because we do a lot of panel events, have people come in, sit down, listen, network, and then leave. Which I think is great, but I think it's also important for us to do trainings on women and have them learn how to do something so they can leave with something tangible other than a conversation. We wanted to do financial literacy classes with Chase. We wanted to do a little bit more on recruiting and resume building with Spotify. We had ideas. So yes, that is important. And I think that's a conversation we can bring up. And I think that's an opportunity with a university as opposed to just working with professionals, because I think it's really the people that are still in school or just graduated are Gen Z, 20 to 24-year-olds that are more, you know, engaging in what you just brought up. They're the ones that are struggling with their identity on social media. And I think a conversation about that is definitely important, and just encouraging them. Definitely education, but most likely they've already gotten their education, but more so a conversation about confidence and building your brand and understanding who you are and the importance that you bring to a space. So absolutely, that is something that we can definitely think about in the future in terms of programming.
Thank you so much, Ola, and thank you, Umi, for this great last question. Thank you, sisters. Perhaps, Ola, if you want to, what would be your last thoughts? You shared your dream, and with we're all praying, and you have all the sisters around on this platform. We're gonna rally also around your dream. What would be your last thoughts in terms of being you powerfully when you reflect on your own journey, and you know the way that the experience has shaped you, and also now moving forward, you know, to the next step, and also building on the last question, you know, how do we own our brands and how do we define ourselves? What would be your last thought on that?
I think my last thoughts would just be making sure that you figure out what your passion is. I think that's just step one. And we have to remember that there are a lot of people who don't know what their passion is. They really don't. We all have, I feel like if we're all on this call, we all have African parents. So we know the pressures, we know how they push us to go a certain direction. I'm blessed to say that my parents really just wanted me to find my own and help me build with that, whatever that thought or that love or that passion is. But I've gotten girls or young women come to Sisters in Media event, and they're Nigerian. I would never forget. They have their nursing degree and they've been out of college for a few years, and they come to my events and they say, I want to be a journalist, but I'm 30 something years old, or I'm in my late 20s and I'm starting really late, but I can't do what I don't love anymore because it just doesn't drive me. So it's important for me to, even though I'm starting late, I got to do it. And I love and respect them so much. So wherever you are right now, if you don't know your passion is, figure it out. If you do know what your passion is and you're not doing it, you got to stop what you're doing and you got to do that. And it's so hard. I swear it's so hard. Like, why would I give up nursing, the amount of money you make for that, to do media, which is so hard? It's about, you know, really grinding and meeting the right people, and also developing great work and making sure that people like your voice and know your voice and get your voice and building an audience. It's just tiring. But if this is what you want to do, you got to do it. Because whatever, I truly believe that God puts in us a passion, a drive, a love. And if we don't fuel it, if we don't water it, if we don't harness it, it goes to waste, number one, which is a waste to community and the people around you. And you end up becoming a person that you don't like. I truly believe that. You start to resent yourself, you resent those around you and your loved ones, and you don't offer anything to society or your community. I never really mentioned this, but the purpose of Sisters in Media is to increase the presence of women of color in media by making a valuable contribution to our communities and society at large. Whatever we do, whatever we're doing in our life in this lifetime, we need to be able to make sure, how is this helping someone else? How I love TV and film. How can my love for TV and film help somebody else? So my hope is that that's what you guys take away. And my hope is that you guys follow Sisters in Media on Twitter, on Instagram. It's just Sisters in Media. Keep in touch with us. Email us if you have questions and if you have ideas for programming, because we always want to improve. And thank you for listening in. I'm Verlaine, I can share my gift if you want me to. So I want to end this off with sharing some platforms that you guys should definitely take a look at, follow, and donate, or even sign for the Black Lives Matter movement. 3 of these places are, one is NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund. They are providing defense for people who are being arrested during the protest. And I think it's super important that we donate to them, because they're out there, they're protesting for our rights. And I think it's important for us to share just a little bit of the donation so that we can make sure that they're not sitting in jail for a while. The next is My Block, My Hood, My City. Once again, it's My Block, My Hood, My City. And this organization is about donating to the small Black businesses that have been looted during the protesting. So if they've been affected in any way, from whether it's, fires or, breakage, this donation will be going to them to rebuild. And the last one is for Black trans advocacy. It's called Black Trans Advocacy Coalition. And this is about helping the Black trans community that has been suffering from COVID-19. They've been ignored, and it's so important for us to just put direction back to them. I feel like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all right now have been getting a lot of support, thankfully, financially. But I want to use this opportunity to bring eyes to things that probably have been ignored during this time. So I hope you guys take that away. Let me just repeat the names again. It's NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, My Block, My Hood, My City, and Black Trans Advocacy Coalition. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Ola, that was powerful. Thank you so much. You not only honored the theme of this session, which is Be You Powerfully, but you showed everyone on this call how to do it and how to do it moving forward. It's always very difficult to let go. Now I just want to hold you, hold everyone, and we continue to talk.
We're giving a virtual hug, and a hug to everyone who joined in. I really appreciate it. I honestly get so honored and just like, what? People want to hear from me? So thank you so much for listening, and I really hope to be able to do this with you guys again.
Thank you so much, Ola. Thank you.